What exactly did Paddy Moloney, a Dublin fella, get up to throughout his life? And how did he end up with a band called the Chieftains? And not only that, himself and the rest of the Chieftains together, they were part of the driving force behind Irish traditional music taking over the world throughout the years of the folk revival. As the leader of the Chieftains as well, he was a massive part of sculpting their sound, and he had also composed and arranged masterpieces while becoming Ireland's musical ambassador to every corner of the globe. But believe me, his story is far more than just a list of achievements. It's about one man, a bit of a visionary if you ask me, who took a local tradition, something you might hear in a cosy pub on a Saturday night, and turned it into a global phenomenon. So stick around till the end, because you might just discover some truly surprising facts about Paddy Moloney and the incredible rip-roaring journey of the Chieftains that you might just never have heard before. And who knows, by the end of it, you might even feel like you've shared a pint with the man himself. But before we get lost down the rabbit hole of Paddy's early years, let me give you a wee roadmap of where we're headed. We'll be tracing his path from discovering his first notes right through to how the Chieftains came together, and then how they went on to literally conquer the world stage. Now, doesn't that sound like a grand adventure? Picture this: Dublin, August 1st, 1938. A wee baby boy named Paddy Moloney arrives. He's the second of 5 kids. His dad, John, was a good man, from the army to a glass company. And his mother, Kate, came from the farmlands of County Laois. And Kate herself, she had an eye for talent. Spotting her son's ear for a tune, bought him his very first tin whistle at the tender age of 6. Just imagine that for a second. A tin whistle. It's such a small purchase and a small decision, but it set off a musical journey that would echo across continents. Think about it. What simple decision, maybe something you didn't even think twice about, changed the course of your life? For myself, it was a small black keyboard lying on the floor in my kitchen. Don't even know how old I was, must have been about 2 or 3. But that core memory for me started it. My grandfather then came along and he was teaching me tin whistle. But 30 years later, I'm no Paddy Moloney though, but I'm okay with a banjo and a mandolin. I'm even better after a few pints, I think. Let me know down in the comments if you've a similar memory that changed the course of your life, like myself or Paddy. By the time he was 8 years old, Paddy had upgraded to the Ellen pipes, under the watchful eye of Leo Morrison, one of the absolute legends of piping back then. Now, it's worth mentioning, the poor wee Uilleann pipes, bless them, sure, they were a bit down in the dumps during that era. Not as popular as they once were, but Paddy's training, that connected him to an instrument that he would later almost single-handedly help restore to international stardom. Along those formal lessons, he was soaking up music like a sponge. Family gatherings in Offaly, school ensembles, and hours of just learning by ear. Often not with a note written down, just pure feel and memory, the way it's supposed to be done. And get this, before he went full-time into music, he was working at a building supplies company. Not exactly rock and roll, but it was there that he met his future wife, Rita O'Reilly. They tied the knot in 1963 and built a lovely family with their 3 children, Angus, Padraig and Aideen. Even the greatest musicians have to pay the bills and find love along the way. Now, the late 1950s roll around, and young Paddy crosses paths with a true visionary, a composer named Sean O'Reilly. This fella was shaking things up, completely reshaping how we thought about Irish music. By 1960, Paddy was in O'Reilly's ensemble, Ceoltarí Cullen. And here's where it gets interesting, right? They weren't just playing the tunes alone, they were modernising it, blending instruments, adding harmonies, a real departure from the old single-line melody style that was common. And believe you me, this very approach would later become the bedrock, the DNA of the Chieftains' iconic sound. Can you imagine hearing traditional music suddenly bursting with new textures and layers? What do you think that must have felt like to the purists at the time? Maybe even some of you remember when the Chieftains first started. What was it like? As somebody who was born in the 90s and a teenager throughout the 2000s, I'll never be able to properly experience what that was like living throughout those years, for obvious reasons. So your stories really help me visualize it. So let me know if you've any stories about it in the comments below. Anyway, in 1959, Paddy, the ever-go-getter, co-founded Claddagh Records with Garrett de Bruyne. In 1968, he was practically living in the studio, producing records for the label, capturing performances that, without his dedication, might have been lost to the mists of time. One absolute jewel, a landmark really, was Tommy Potts' The Liffey Banks from 1972, an album considered a classic of Irish fiddle music. Without Paddy Moloney's touch, who knows if that beauty would ever have seen the light of day. It does make you wonder, doesn't it? But how many other gems are out there which weren't even discovered? Then after that, in 1962, Paddy, with Sean Potts and Michael Tuberty, decided, do you know what? Let's start a band. And thus, the Chieftains were born. Get this, it was initially just meant to be a studio project. Maybe an album, maybe one album, that was it. But sure enough, the group's distinctive sound caught on like wildfire. Paddy wasn't only a member as well, right? He was also the principal composer and arranger, innovating with harmonies and counter melodies that made the tin whistle and uilleann pipes sing as central voices in an ensemble setting. He took those instruments, often seen as solo acts, and wove them into a tapestry of sound that was utterly unique for the time. His arrangements completely set them apart from the usual solo-dominated tradition. Their early fame spread mostly through recordings, with their albums even getting airplay on BBC Radio 1, which was a big deal back then. But the real turning point, the moment they went from great to global, arrived in 1975. A legendary concert at the Royal Albert Hall in London simply propelled them into professional touring. You love to hear it. A traditional Irish ensemble hitting the road like rock stars. It was unheard of. And as if that wasn't enough, Paddy even branched into film, arranging music for none other than Stanley Kubrick's Barry Lyndon in 1975, and collaborating with legends like Paul McCartney. Once they became full-time professional musicians, the Chieftains truly became Paddy Moloney's vehicle for introducing Irish traditional music to every nook and cranny of the planet. 6 Grammy Awards, by the way, 6, and performing in venues that most bands only dream of, from North America all the way to Asia. I think a good way to describe what the Chieftains were at is that their tours weren't just gigs and concerts, right? They were like cultural missions, extending Ireland's music reach to places like Japan, Russia, and even China, transforming it from a niche genre into a respected global art form. How incredible is it that music, sometimes without even a spoken word, can bridge cultures and connect people across vast distances? From my time in Japan, I've met people who have never been to Ireland. They don't even have a lot of English, but they listen to and can even play trad music. But here's a question for you, and one I genuinely don't know the answer to. I haven't researched it enough. Are there any other countries that traditional music has crossed borders like Irish trad? Maybe traditional Chinese music for its use in films and games? I honestly don't know. Maybe someone could let me know down in the comments. Moving on anyway. Let's talk about collaborations. This is where it gets really wild. Mick Jagger, Dolly Parton, Stevie Wonder, Emmylou Harris, Willie Nelson, The Corrs, and that's just scratching the surface. Their 1994 album, The Long Black Veil, was an absolute blockbuster featuring high-profile guests like Jagger, Sinead O'Connor, Van Morrison and Tom Jones. I mean, honestly, who else could pull that off? We're looking at traditional Irish music being mixed with other genres you may never have even thought could work well together. In 1984, they broke new ground, becoming the very first Western group to perform in China, a monumental moment in cultural exchange. Earlier in 1979, they performed for none other than Pope John Paul II, and just a decade later, they were formally recognised as Ireland's honorary musical ambassadors. Now, if that doesn't say we've made it, I don't know what does. Throughout this, the group welcomed brilliant members like Sean Keane on fiddle, Matt Malloy on flute, a pure genius and owns a lovely pub down in Mayo, and Kevin Kneff on barra on vocals. Paddy Moloney's vision and leadership kept them together, kept them fresh, ensuring they honoured the tradition while always pushing the boundaries. His commitment to the vitality of Irish music inspired countless musicians and audiences worldwide to fall in love with a tradition that is both ancient and wonderfully alive. Even in his later years, Paddy never slowed down for a second. In the 2000s, the Chieftains kept churning out fresh music, sometimes going back to their roots with albums like Water from the Well, and other times completely experimenting, like with San Patricio, a stunning project with Ry Cooder and various Mexican musicians. Their final studio album, Voice of Ages, in 2012, even featured astronaut Katie Coleman playing flute from the International Space Station. Now, if that doesn't show you the sheer reach of Paddy's curiosity, I don't know what will. Seriously, an astronaut playing flute from space on a Chieftains album. How mind-bogglingly cool is that? What do you think that says about the universal language of music? His work earned him massive honours abroad, including Mexico's Oakley Award in 2012, and later accolades from Spain for his profound impact on music culture. Yet, Paddy, the ever-humble Irishman, once admitted he wished traditional musicians got a little bit more recognition back home in Ireland. Still, he took immense pride in the respect he earned worldwide. Paddy led the Chieftains for almost 60 years. 60 years. I've barely been alive for half of that. Very few bands, no matter how famous, can boast that kind of longevity. As fellow musician Finbar Fury so rightly put it, Moloney brought our music to places it was never heard before, in China, Malaysia and India. And just before that pesky pandemic hit, he was planning a huge 60th anniversary tour for the group in 2022. It was supposed to be epic. I just want to touch on something I said there. Traditional musicians getting the recognition they deserve. Look, I know this YouTube channel I'm working away at is still quite small, but that's the whole end goal of these videos. It's to explore various musicians, famous and not so famous, discuss their life, their achievements, and leave the videos up online to hopefully get the recognition they deserve, one view at a time. You'd be greatly helping that by liking the video and writing a wee comment if one of the questions I asked resonates with you. Anyway, so Paddy has done a lot on stage, but what about offstage? Offstage, Paddy was a dedicated family man. He absolutely adored spending time with his grandchildren, even playing tunes with them. No doubt passing on that musical spark, and he had a cracking sense of humour as well. When asked on NPR in 2010 what the sexiest instrument was, he quipped with a wee twinkle in his eye that it was the Uilleann pipes. And why? Because they get every party a moving. I think he was a legend right to the end. Sadly, Paddy Moloney passed away on October 12th, 2021, at the age of 83. He left behind his beloved wife Rita, their 3 children and 4 grandchildren. Tributes poured in from every corner of the globe. Ireland's President Michael D. Higgins praised him for his extraordinary talent and pivotal role in bringing Irish music to global audiences, while countless others celebrated his unique ability to connect people everywhere through the pure magic of music. Paddy will forever be remembered as a true chieftain of Irish music. He didn't just bring the Uilleann pipes back to life. He carried the very soul of Irish tradition across the world, inspiring thousands, maybe millions, to pick up an instrument and play a tune. His story to me is a powerful reminder of how one person with enough passion and vision can utterly transform the future of an entire tradition. Now, I'm genuinely curious. Have you ever had the pleasure of seeing the Chieftains live? Or perhaps have you a favourite Paddy Moloney moment? A particular song or story that sticks with you? And here's a big one for you to think on. Do you honestly think Irish music would be the same today without his incredible influence? Drop all your thoughts, memories and musings in the comments below. I'd absolutely love to hear your take on this musical legend. And if you learned something new about Paddy today, give this video a like. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into Irish music, history and culture. Before I wrap up, I want to give a huge shout out to our channel members. Here's your names on screen. Thanks again for your continued support. Much appreciated as always. Yous are the absolute best. If you'd like to join them, check out the links in the description for more information and even links to our shop as well. I've added loads of new designs there, so go on and have a look. As well as that, I just want to say I'm sorry, but as of making this video, I'm having a bit of an issue connecting the shop to the YouTube channel, on the YouTube shelf it's called. I made some silly mistake one morning and triggered some weird bug. But sure, look, you can check out the description and click the link directly there. So anyway, to all of you watching, thanks again. I hope you all have a great day. All the best. Slán go fóill. Cheers.